They were all exhausted. I had actually gotten sick on the way up. They put me under a tree in a camping chair, and I picked up the phone and I called this guy, Joel, who was the head of the Manchester Free State Project Group, and said, yeah, we're here, because he wanted to know when we got here. And we all looked at that truck and thought, God, this is going to take forever to unload. And then an amazing thing happened. Cars started arriving. All these people, one after another. 5 people, 10 people, 15 people. And inside of 20 minutes, my truck was unloaded. Inside of 20 minutes, people were standing on my porch, having a cold drink, while 2 women who had never met me, didn't know me, went into my house, found the box that had my bed sheets and made our bed. Found the box that had our shower curtain and hung it. Found our dishes and laid them out for us. The whole time I was sitting there thinking, these people must think I'm awful. All I'm doing is sitting in this chair. I'm not doing anything. And I was embarrassed of myself. None of these people knew that I had cancer. None of these people knew that I just had surgery. None of these people knew that my family was absolutely beyond exhausted. But they all came, and they all worked, and they all did it, and then they looked at me and they said, Jen, we just want your first night in the Free State to be a nice one. And they stayed and they chatted with us, and then they left. That was my first experience of being a part of this family. And it's one that has stuck with me as I come into my celebrating my 5-year anniversary of being in the Free State, which culminates with 5 years of being cancer-free. Funny thing happened on the way to the Free State. I met a lot of people that like guns. And it just so happened that my landlord, who was a friend of the Free State Project, really liked guns. So he said, we needed to become more active in that community. Guns? We don't play with those in Massachusetts. No. But okay, we're going to tag along. We go to a dinner, and they're everywhere. There's just guns everywhere. And there's raffles you can play. And guess what? I won my first raffle in New Hampshire. A really cool Ruger. And then I went to the police department, filed and got my carry concealed license, and an addict was born. Now started acquiring new firearms and going to the range and finding out how fun they were. And that started my addiction, and I'll say addiction because freedom is addictive. When you have not had a right, when it's been something not accessible to you, and you find yourself in this place where all of a sudden you have it, freedom becomes very addictive. I was enjoying the fact that I could utilize a firearm, that I could defend myself, that I didn't even have to think twice about carrying it, open or concealed. My choice, my freedom, my right, and nobody was going to stop me. And that is an interesting experience, because when you come from an environment where it's not allowed, and you suddenly find yourself in an environment where your rights actually still exist, it's fun. So I took that to the next level and became the Second Amendment Sisters State Coordinator for New Hampshire. I decided that I wanted to share that fun, and I wanted to invite other people in, and most importantly, women, especially in the Second Amendment arena. A lot of guys out there, no offense to any of you, but women are most often the victims of violent crime. Women are most often the ones who are the victims of carjackings, home invasions. We all know this. So encouraging women to be able to be strong in their self, to not be dependent upon another for their life, was something that I took on as my personal mantle. And it gives me a lot of pride to watch how far SAS has gone. And SAS is actually a great organization because it's founded on everything we believe. 5 women from around the country who got mad that a bunch of women calling themselves the Million Mommers were going to go to Washington, D.C. and go tell the president how bad guns were and how much we needed gun control. And these 5 women from around the country said, I don't want that to represent me. And that's what we do, and that's what we've done. And the Second Amendment Sisters has grown, oh God, incredibly across the nation. And here in New Hampshire, they're extremely strong. So I got involved in that. Things kind of happen when you get here. You go from holding a sign. I'll tell you, my very first act of civil disobedience was 2 weeks after we moved here. My son and I stood in front of the New Hampshire State House with signs that said, we don't want the Patriot Act. No to the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act is unpatriotic. We had a bunch of all these other people out there. And I can remember that initial feeling I had when I first stood there thinking, this is weird. People, I'm not going to get arrested? I can stand in front of the State House? What do you mean stand in front of it, Jen? You can go in it. What do you mean I can go in it? I don't have to have an appointment? Where are the metal detectors? You don't have those? Well, this is really weird. Freedom still exists in New Hampshire. So going from that point, getting involved with the Second Amendment Sisters, and getting involved with this new family, I really started to blossom, if you will. I started to realize that the more I did, the better I could make my environment. I don't want to change New Hampshire. I want to preserve it. I want to keep the bad things out. Things like Real ID. When that came up, there was a small group of us who said, that's not right. Why would we want to enumerate human beings? Why would we want to put human beings into a database? And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, if the government can put human beings in a database, well, when are the guns coming? How far away from firearm registration when you've already got the people cataloged? So that group of us started the Granite State ID Coalition. We were actively going to say that the government should stand up, the government of New Hampshire should stand up, exhibit its state's rights, and prevent Real ID from existing in our state. They passed it nationally, but maybe we could be a little thorn in their side. And in the beginning, nobody really wanted to pay attention to us. We held a rally in front of the State House with over 200 people there, and the press said, not covering that one. Funny thing happens about the press. There's other press. And they covered it. And we sure turned up in international media. They couldn't ignore us anymore. It was too hard. The mainstream press eventually started to catch on. We're going to have to cover this story because people are talking about it. And we organized. We actually got the ACLU and the Cato Institute to join forces with us. Seriously. They even held a press conference together and fight against Real ID. And I'll tell you, that first bill, we lost. But we got a lot of attention. But we didn't give up. We came back with another representative